Welcome to part 2 of our chat with Nas, Campanella and Tom Oriti. If you missed the first episode, just go back and have a listen. And you've launched into parenthood.
Yeah.
So you've got all this work and all this great
challenge
stuff cooking on those pots, and then life happens and you've got a little Lachie in your life now.
We do, little 8-month-old Lachie. He's
How's that been for you both?
Whew.
Brilliant. Yeah. Look,
Where do you start with
amazing.
Yeah. Is it a welcome distraction?
that one? Yeah, probably is actually.
Definitely.
I think genuinely it probably is. It's just changed everything, hasn't it? It's still surreal. 8 months down, I see him in the cot there every morning, and it's surreal. It's
He's just
surreal.
a bundle of loud energy. We should have known that two parents as journalists and who love talking on radio,
Right.
He was also going to be very vocal.
Yeah, right, okay.
Quiet kid.
I think it's also because I...
He's got an appetite.
Coming
Oh,
to you
yeah,
live
the
from the
appetite.
crib, it's Lachie.
Yeah, it's a bit like that. Yeah.
Mum has just spat the dummy at me.
And the appetite is he's definitely taken after the Italian
He's
side.
an Italian, of course.
But I
Pasta for breakfast, mentioned dinner.
that the other day he had pasta for breakfast. We say that and we laugh, but it's true.
He actually already is. Yeah.
Yeah, he's changed our lives, and I think I was never sure whether I would be a mum. I think for a long time I wasn't actually sure whether I'd meet anyone or whether I would, be in sort of the right circumstance. And then I think as soon as we met, we had decided pretty early on that we wanted kid. And, it's now that it's here, it's just magic. I think it's been amazing to be parents, but also I think it's brought us a lot closer as well, which is fantastic. And we've always been fantastic communicators and always really good at compromise. But I think this is all of that on steroids, isn't it?
Journalism is always about working as a team, doing it. But this is like, to me, the ultimate team effort.
Yeah.
Between the two of us, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've never. Yeah, I don't think anything can really quite properly prepare you for it until it happens.
It's so true. You can read every book under the sun, which is
Yeah,
helpful.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But
Until they're there, it's a whole other level of I don't know.
yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
And that was the thing. There were so many unknowns for us. Like, I had no idea how I was going to be able to track his movements in the house, given I don't have any vision. I had no idea how I'd go even carrying the pregnancy, given my neurological condition, which affects my balance. And so as my tummy grew, I was more prone to sort of falling over and, just had no idea. The other big thing was I didn't know a lot of parents with disability. I kind of have a handful of friends and different disabilities. But the one thing I learned really quickly was that there's no sort of support networks. There's a lack of support networks. There's no real sort of equipment for people with disability. All of my friends sort of had to buy bits and pieces from their shops and then just adapt them for themselves. And really, we were just all learning from each other. And so I learned really quickly that we were kind of in this on our own, this kind of unique situation of not knowing how it was going to work. So things like squeaky shoes, to know where he was moving, little rattles that I could put on his hands and feet to know where he was crawling. What else do we use? Little magnetic onesies instead of press studs, because I'm not able to do the press studs.
Yeah.
All of those things we've just learnt by having him and talking to people about the things I'm struggling with, and then someone out there will recommend
what about
something.
this?
Necessity is the mother of
And it's been
invention.
fun.
You have to start
Yeah.
patenting some of these ideas,
Yeah.
eh?
Well, even things like he's now being bottle fed and knowing
How much you put in the bottle?
how much to put in the bottle or how much he's had. So I've become really good at being able to hold the bottle and saying to Tom, he's left 30 mils.
It's amazing.
Tom will look.
And she gets it
And
every
it will be
time.
30
That's
She'll
amazing.
literally pick up a
But-
bottle and go, 30 mils left. And
but
every
it's
single
been-
time it's swallowed.
It's been
amazing.
over 8 months of feeding him and
Yeah,
learning
right.
that, You don't know that in the initial stages. I had to ask people how much he was having and
Are you cheating? Because there's little,
Yeah.
there's little nicks on the side of the bottle, little raised edges.
yeah, I wish.
It's honestly the lack of accessible resources. I was stunned.
Even the birthing classes that we did with our hospital, the videos were all visual. They weren't in
Right.
English. There was nothing for me to follow. So our beautiful team of midwives at our hospital had never in their 30, 35 years experience of midwifery, had never cared for a mother with disability. And what was good about that was we just all put our heads together, discussed what was needed, and half the time we didn't even know what was needed. It was a lot of trial and error. But it meant that we had to all communicate really effectively, and we came up with a plan that suited me. So in the end, I had this individualised care plan, which is what I would argue any mother, let alone, a mum with disability, deserves. But that was just because we came up with it ourselves as a team.
Right.
And I'm working now with at least the team at my hospital, doing, lots of sort of conferences and speaking at different things to kind of change the kind of way that all of that's managed now. But there really wasn't anything.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I did. They were lovely and an amazingly supportive team.
And they were so
but
embarrassed. The poor midwives were so
they were
embarrassed.
very frank about
Just
it.
don't have anything.
Midwives are amazing.
They were incredible,
people.
and they were absolutely amazing. But yeah, the idea, it's like really that there hasn't been another blind mother here.
Yeah.
Ever. No one blind. You never come across anyone with a vision impairment who's had a child, which was I found that quite extraordinary.
And look, we ended up I had to have an emergency cesarean to get Lachie out. And I guess the best way to describe it was I was really terrified about going in for the cesarean and the what's it called, the spinal tap.
The anesthesia and all that
Yeah,
sort of thing.
and all of that sort of thing I've been through so much sort of hospitalization over my time that I'm quite traumatized by it. So I was really terrified being wheeled down there, and we were waiting outside the theatre, and I'm sitting there nervous as anything. And the anaesthetist came out, and she was this beautiful woman that came out, introduced herself, told me exactly what was going to happen. She said she could let Tom come in and just, be with me. Then she got the rest of the team. They all came out, introduced themselves, told me their roles, where they were going to be, what they were going to do, asked me what would be, helpful. And, did I want them to talk to me during the procedure? Did I not? All of those things. And those are the most simple, basic things. But they made the experience the most beautiful experience. Like, I'd sign up for another cesarean next year, it just made the biggest world of difference. And it was the only time I have ever felt comfortable going into a theatre. And yeah, it was just, and even for you, I think.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. What I loved about the whole experience with the midwives and the people in the theatre was, yes, they asked you what would make you comfortable and all that sort of thing. Naz's disability also didn't matter to them.
Yeah.
They didn't see Naz's disability at all. It didn't. They wanted to make sure she was comfortable, but it didn't bother them in the slightest. It was, Naz wants to be like any other mother having a baby, and she was treated with the same level of care and attention as any other mother having a baby. And we liked that in a way. You weren't treated as this special case in the corner.
Often
It
you
wasn't
felt
like that at all.
Often you felt like they were kind of ignoring you.
Which I liked.
Which
Because
is good.
we deal with this in the community a lot.
Yeah, right.
All the time. People stare. They always do. We'll often be at a shop and someone will say, "Oh, how would your wife like to pay, sir?" They won't
They'll
address
ask him
Naz.
what I want to order for breakfast.
What would your wife like to order? And they'll ask me. They'll never, and Naz is standing right next to me. So we've been used to that for a long time. There's a lot of lovely people out there who don't do that, but we get that all the time. To them, I loved the fact that I was being ignored in the corner.
Yeah, right.
I was the dopey husband in the corner who didn't know what he was doing.
Sweating
And
balls under the
freaking
armpits
out.
there.
Absolutely. And Naz was a mother like any other mother,
Yeah.
absolutely regardless of her disability. And that was a really beautiful part of it.
It was.
Yeah.
Were you up the curtain end, or were you
I was
down
at
the cutting end?
Forget it. You kidding me?
They offered.
They offered. Yeah, no way.
I know, right?
No,
They
he
did. Yeah.
set up.
Naz's head.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big moment, isn't it? Where do you want to be,
I
Dad?
said, did you want to take a look? And I said, you've got to be kidding me.
I think I said no as well. I was like, no, keep him here.
I know.
Yeah.
Tom was busy painting the walls a shade of blue, so it wasn't white in there. So just keep painting here.
That's right. It's,
She doesn't like white walls.
I've got to say, it was. It's so true.
And also, I wanted him to video it because I'm not able to look at photos. So I wanted to hear Lachie's first cry, and I wanted to hear all of that. It's important that Tom gets the kind of auditory
Sound, yeah.
experience of everything for me because, I'm not going to be able to look back on photos of him as a 1 month old or 2 month old when he's 21 or So
Getting the video on the phone's been
And
a
you got
big
it?
thing.
Tell me you got it.
I did get it. Yeah,
well
I did
done.
get it. They were lovely
Well
with
done.
that. And even now, 8 months down the track, every milestone, I try to capture it as much audio of that milestone as I can, because it's how Naz will remember.
or
these
even little
early
things like
stages.
when he giggles, like, oh, quick, get
my
that
God.
because I'm not going to remember that giggle, when, all of those kinds of things. Or when he's crawling,
better.
just his little noises and his little movements. And
There's a sound when our first child was born. Her very first sound. She was a water birth at a birthing centre. And it's the sound of her voice, the first cry that she makes, that is still the biggest memory I have of her, actually.
It's beautiful.
Oh, my God. It's so gorgeous.
It's surreal
It's
hearing
just-
it, isn't it?
I know. It's
I'll never forget it
wild.
either. Yeah.
And aren't you lucky for a water birth in a birth centre? I wanted a water birth. I at least wanted to labour in water.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, that
We
didn't
didn't
happen.
even-
And that's what you learn about birth and parenting.
100%.
It's never what you plan. I mean, we had no birth plan.
Yeah, well, the baby has the plan.
Yeah,
it's like because
exactly.
our three kids had their own versions
Absolutely.
of
Yeah,
how
very
it was
different.
going to happen.
Yeah.
Very different versions.
And we didn't have a birth plan. Like everyone was sort of asking me, and I didn't. My whole thing was, I've got no idea how this is all going to work. We'll just leave it in the hands of, Lady Luck and the doctors. But that was the only thing I said. I wouldn't mind labouring in water if the opportunity comes. But
You came 2.5 weeks early.
2.5 weeks early. I finished.
go through
I
it.
did my last piece to camera on, my last story on the Friday. Had my baby shower on the Saturday. Had a few days to myself, and then he was here. So
That was it.
no time for anything.
No relaxation.
Didn't get the
Just
facial, the
happened.
pedicure,
Yeah,
nothing.
had to cancel all of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
How has it been watching Naz become a mum?
Incredible. Even things that I naively thought Naz might have struggled with, she has not. She has completely and utterly risen to the challenge in every single sense of the word. I guess the only obstacle is your mobility. Like Naz with the cane and the pram finds it difficult on her own to walk up the shops with a baby and get a coffee or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I often find that that's probably something that you find challenging.
That
but-
is the biggest challenge. Oh, apart
Yeah.
from breastfeeding, we can talk about that later if you want. But
Yeah, which is also a
Breastfeeding
very
was a
visual thing.
nightmare.
That was a nightmare too. So,
very visual. But yeah, getting out and about is the biggest challenge, actually.
but apart from that, absolutely every challenge, Naz has found a way to overcome it and be the most incredible mother. And watching the bond between Naz and Lachie is really beautiful. He just lights up. He's got a beautiful smile, and Naz gets it a lot more than I do. And which is
She
lovely.
did carry her
It's
for
fine.
10 months.
Deserves it. I completely agree. But it's
Something we dads have to deal
But
with.
it is
Yeah,
funny
happy to deal
though,
with it.
because
Yeah.
you imagine you guys smile at your children and they can see you smile. They can see your eye contact. You can see their eye contact. Lachie and I don't have it in the same way. So I am quite surprised of course I'm his mum and he's going to smile at me, but I can't make eye contact with him. So I try and overcompensate by smiling at him constantly, and I talk to him constantly. So whenever people say, oh, wow, he's really vocal, I actually do think, and maybe it's all in my mind, but I talk to him all day, every day about anything and everything. So he might be in a little, playpen beside me while I'm washing the dishes. I will sit there and talk to him about what I'm washing because we need to find other ways to bond because me and him visually don't have that in the same way that he has that with Tom.
You know what? I also think that he, even now, maybe this is psychological, but he knows that his mum can't see. I think he's very patient with you, even when it comes to changing nappies and changing clothes. With me, he's a bit more restless and come on, Dad, let's get on with it. Feeding with you, there's an element of patience that I don't get, and that might be totally psychological or not. I don't know,
wonder.
but he just knows. He
the other
knows
thing-
he's got to be more patient, and he is. There's something
and
incredible
I've
about it.
noticed now that we are feeding him solids. He will open up his mouth but make like a noise so that I almost know where his mouth is. And he looks
just feels
around
like he's learning.
constantly and moves his head when you're feeding him. With me, he just sits patiently. I think he just knows,
He's
gosh,
different.
hurry up,
Yeah.
Mum. Like,
That's magic.
He just knows. It is magic. I just feel like he knows, even at 8.5 months, that he's just got to have that element of patience, perhaps.
Yeah.
But no, and I've got to say, he is he has made the parenthood journey pretty good. He's sleeping quite well, and he's a very happy, chilled out baby. So that's made the journey really good as well. But no, Nas has overcome absolutely every challenge with flying colours. It's been amazing to watch.
Well, what they've actually studied this, that one of the greatest precursors to children being, with literacy and reading well is if the parents talk to them a lot. So I can't wait to see, this kid will be reading by the age of 2.
well, and I read to him as well. I mean, sometimes I get out, the books that our beautiful friends and family have actually bought books, recorded themselves reading the stories. And so I'll pop a little headphone in and I've got them on my phone and I hide the phone so Lachie can't see it. And I'll have the printed book in front of him and then I'll be able to read the book to him. Okay. But even if I can't be bothered to get the phone and the headphones and set it all up, I just get books and I know the way, the right way up, and then I just make up a story. He doesn't know the words. He doesn't care. He just
that's
the act
beautiful.
of listening to my voice and turning the pages and teaching him to, press the little buttons because, you want to hear the lion roar, all those little things. So it's just about doing all of those different things a bit differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
Naz, do you find, you haven't been able to see since how you were
6 months.
6 months.
Essentially it was pretty much perfect.
So do you find that your other senses are more acute?
I think they've had to become more acute. I don't think you just lose one sense and the others are heightened. I don't believe that's the case. But I think over time I've had to learn, if you're hearing something in the distance, just, listen really carefully and smell really, intently, all those things. I think over time they've sort of grown. I don't think you just lose one sense and the others are inherently just all of a sudden on, are much better. I don't think that's the case. But, I use my hearing for so many things. Like, obviously when we're out, I listen to the way my cane is making noise against the concrete on the floor and how the sounds are bouncing off the objects around it to know where, brick walls or doorways are.
Yeah.
I guess I do rely on them much more, obviously.
Yeah. But I guess I wasn't sort of making a comment that because you can't see that other things are heightened, but I guess
no, but
you would develop
assumption, I think.
right.
Yeah, by a lot of people.
Yeah,
that's just the way it is. I think you just learn to use those senses in a way that others don't have to, if that makes sense.
There you go.
Makes sense. Yeah. Is it ever offensive that people ask you questions about your disability, whether as a woman or a wife or a reporter, as a mum?
No, I don't think it's offensive to ask the questions. I think it's all about the context.
Yeah.
So, I will literally be waiting at the bus stop, minding my own business, and someone will ask, how did you lose your sight?
I read that story.
That's not the right context.
Yeah.
But if we're in a conversation and you're, moving out of the way for me and standing beside me at the curb and there's a busy road and you want to offer your arm to give me some support and I accept and then we, start chatting, then that might be a different context. I think it's all about the context and how you ask. So if you ask it in a really respectful way, in a way that's sort of, I hope this isn't, rude or offensive, but I've just never met anyone who's vision impaired before. Do you mind if I ask you X, Y, Z? And there have been times where I'll say, actually, I'm in a hurry. Do you mind? Or I don't feel comfortable answering that. But I think it's just about how the person asks. But I welcome questions purely because it's the way people learn and it's the way we change perception. There are still lots of people in this world who have never worked with, lived with, met, seen people with disability before. How are they supposed to learn if they don't learn from me or the next person who's willing to ask questions?
Yeah, right. I remember someone saying who was in a wheelchair and he said when people just strangers come up and say, why are you in a wheelchair? It's like, I would never ask an able-bodied person your medical background. Like, why are you asking me that?
Absolutely. And it's the same sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And what about you, Tom? Are you ever asked offensive questions? You're married to someone with a disability. Does someone sort of...
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I more intrigue rather than, I can't believe you've done that. It's more intrigue of how we work things out. Which, like Nas, if it's done in the appropriate context, I welcome, because I'm very proud of Nas. And one thing I'll always say when anyone asks is, quite frankly, after almost 11 years, I don't see Nas's disability at all. Yeah. I genuinely don't. I would love to say I help Nas get dressed every morning and all that kind of... I don't. Not at all. I would love to say I do more than I do. Nas is a fiercely, fiercely independent woman and always has been. So you get to a point, and this happened very, very quickly, but certainly now, after almost 11 years, I'm almost completely and utterly unaware of Nas's disability. Yeah. So, yeah, people are intrigued. They're intrigued, and I'm more than happy to give them that response, I guess, whenever they ask. It really hasn't... it's a relationship like any other relationship, I
think there's little things you've had to learn, like things need to be in the same spot all the time in our house. But mind you would probably do that anyway. I've always been pretty
pedantic.
Yeah,
anyway.
You've always been pretty pedantic about that stuff. But,
if I leave Naz on her own in the house, I switch the lights off.
Yes.
Rather than leaving her with the lights on in the house.
There's no point leaving the lights on because I won't know.
Which has changed, by the way, with the baby, which is an interesting thing.
Right.
And that was something I never considered. So I thought about all these things. If Lachie does have no vision, I'll be the best person to support him and I'll know exactly what to do. I never considered, if he can see, what I do then with things like lights. So
you get an Alexa and you go, Alexa, turn on the light.
Well, yeah.
You learn that very quickly, yeah.
So
for an early stage, you were actually, I was saying, as you are aware, you've been in the house all day with the baby with the lights in the dark.
Yeah.
So now Naz, he's actually flicking on lights and opening, we always open the curtains, but flicking on lights so Lachie can see and knows
so that he knows that it's daytime. So the first thing I do when he wakes up, as long as it's an appropriate time, I'll go and open the curtains so that he knows it's daytime.
Right.
And that he can see the natural light. And if it is dark in the room, but I don't want to open up, turn on the sort of the bedroom light and all those things, we've now got a lamp so that I can just quickly flick that on so he can see my face. Because while I live, in darkness, he doesn't. He won't. So he needs to kind of learn all those different things. So it's been an adjustment.
It has been.
It's a lot to consider, isn't it, that you would never have thought.
Things you had never really thought of before, and every time that comes up, you just find a way to overcome it. Yeah. I'd like to sort of say proudly at the moment, I think we have, really.
Yeah.
There aren't any... There's nothing that you can't overcome if you put your mind to it.
So to that, then, what can we do as a country better in helping people with disability?
Ooh, how long's the podcast?
Yeah, there's a lot.
Okay, so there's three things. If there's three things, you could put your,
I think the biggest thing, if I could just pick one big thing, and it is the biggest thing, it's our attitude towards people with disability. I shouldn't have to go out for breakfast with my family and have my husband decide what I'm eating or order food for me. I think if we change attitude, we can change everything else. And, of course, attitude is the hardest thing to change because it's intangible, isn't it? But, I think when you do that, you will have less people asking inappropriate questions at inappropriate times. You will have less people assuming that Tom does everything in the house. One of the first questions that, someone came to visit us and actually said to Tom, how does it feel being mum and dad?
Whoa,
and that night, Tom had slept 8 hours straight. I was up every 2 hours, feeding, pumping, doing all the rest, changing. And that absolutely broke me. And I don't know why it broke me at the time because I get people saying things like this to me all the time. I've had it for 34 years. It just is what it is. I don't like it, but I'm used to it. And I feel like I built quite a thick skin to deal with it. But that night just really, that comment broke me.
Yeah.
And I think it's things like that where if we can just look around and see people with disability getting the bus, working on TV, having babies in our mothers groups, we won't have people say those things anymore. You know, I notice even because we have a doula that takes me to swimming classes every Friday with Lachie, and because I need a bit of assistance to get there with the pram and the cane, etc. And so I was realising when we went to activities that lots of mums would initially talk to the doula, not me. And she was great at not responding and, you know, handing Lachie over as soon as we got there and, you know, just asking or helping whenever I asked rather than just forcing help upon me. And what's been great to watch is the way that the mums very quickly realise that I'm the mum and that they can talk to me, not the doula. And I think that's been really lovely, just being at these activities and seeing how welcoming people are. And even when I ring to say, oh, you know, I'm vision impaired, I'm going to come along with my baby, blah, 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 I do it as a bit of a courtesy of, you know, don't be completely freaked out when I walk in with a cane and a baby. But they've all been fantastic. And they will say to me, we have no idea how to help. We've got no idea. We've never had a mum with disability before. But let's give it a go and you just tell me what you need along the way and we'll figure it out. And that has been amazing. But I think the more that people are out there in the community and living life like I am, like we are as a family, that's where that attitude will change. But until we sort of change that, we just can't change anything else.
Yeah. When you get that scripting out there, don't you? It's really important to get that.
Yeah.
How can we help you? Or just acknowledging, I've never been in this situation before.
Yeah.
What do you need?
And I think that's really important.
Yeah.
I think that's
You know?
really
So simple,
important.
but
The swimming teacher, we've now just done swimming for 3 weeks. After the first class, she said to me, I was really nervous about that. Now I'm so excited. That was fantastic. And I think that's what I want. I wanted her to be honest. And that was what was so great about our team at the hospital. They weren't afraid to say, we've got no idea how this is going to work. But let's give it a go and let's just work together. And I think that made me feel so comfortable to go, I also am a bit nervous. I also don't know how this is going to work, but I feel really comfortable to tell you that now because you've been honest with me. Yeah. And I think that's all we can ask.
Yeah.
And what I'll say, the vast majority of people in the community and in the mums groups in the hospital, they have all been really amazing, I've got to say.
They've been incredible.
Yeah, you get your odd people asking strange questions and all that sort of thing. But in general, I think that camaraderie has been really beautiful.
And my mum's groups, I mean, our house is just full of kids now, kids and mums, because it's harder for me to go out. So all the mums just say, oh, we'll bring stuff over. We'll just come to you. Or, you know, there was a couple of weeks ago, me and a couple of mums went out and I was walking with one mum and then another mum had my pram and her pram. We just looked like quite a sight, I'm sure. But we're all just figuring this out together. And it's just been beautiful. I've just found this whole new community we've always been very social people, but we've now just got, our community's just tripled.
Isn't that great? That's parenthood anyway, figuring it out together.
Exactly.
You know, you just figure it out. As Elle said before, there's so many books around, but until you actually become a parent and you're faced with that, that's
You're all going through that together.
Yeah.
We do something in the separate bathrooms. We do something called a quick 5-minute shower thing. So it's just like a few little one word answers to these questions if you're up for it.
All right.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, you're reporters. You can do this. Easy peasy for you.
We're used to asking the questions.
We're not used to saying one word, though.
I know.
Well, that's tricky. You've never actually thrown that out, Elle. That's a real challenge.
I like the one word. It's always really hard, but short answers. I guess.
Short answer.
I know you guys are.
Yikes, we'll give it a go.
All right.
Okay, what is your best quality? What's your best quality?
So we're saying it about each other?
No.
No, about you.
Yourself.
My energy. I'm always, super energetic.
Nice.
You stole that one from me.
Oh. I've got plenty of other good ones.
Can you come up with another one? My interest
Yeah.
in
you
other
go.
people.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's true.
Who do you admire?
Oh, my grandmother.
Nas.
Good answer.
Good one.
You passed that test.
There you go. That was a
thought that
trick,
might have
wasn't
been
it? Yeah.
What does a perfect day look like?
Oh, this has changed. You go first.
A happy and healthy baby boy and his mum.
Hanging at the park with you and Lachie and Sushi on a picnic blanket.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there one moment in your life you would like to revisit?
Oh. um, you know what? No. I think that everything happens for a reason and you take the good with the bad and you learn from them.
Perfect.
Only because it was such a special day, I'd revisit our wedding.
Yeah.
But I'd not to change anything.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
to relive it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But your answer was good too.
Who's the most, this is a really hard question, I know, but who's the most fascinating person you guys have ever met?
Ooh. Oh, this is hard.
I know.
You can go first if you've got. You sound like you've got someone.
I don't know if I can answer this in one.
Well, take a few.
Some people living with disability overseas. We went to disadvantaged parts of the world and met other people who were blind, and they recognised Nas and just gravitated to her. It was in Cambodia, actually.
Oh, yeah, the massage. Yeah.
And they were, I know this is more than one word, but other people in sort of very underprivileged backgrounds seeing positivity in life with disability, and it was a beautiful thing. And that's I was trying to condense that as much as I could, but that was a beautiful time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. Yeah. I think it's a bit similar for me. I was doing aid work in the Pacific and we were taken to this village, and it was a village where lots of children were living with disability, but they'd never gone to school. They didn't have a lot actually at all. And me and 4 other women were there doing this aid project together. We all had different disabilities. And again, it was a very similar thing to what Tom said, just being there and seeing their way of life and seeing how happy they were with the very little they had, but also knowing that when we left, we actually had an impact on their parents who were, before we arrived, just feeling like there wasn't a lot of hope for them or their children. Sorry, again, not a short answer. But just getting to know them.
Yeah.
It's just magic.
What the world needs now.
Compassion.
Gratitude.
Last question. Your partner in one word or sentence if you need to.
Oh. Intelligent enthusiasm.
2 words.
Oh, she said a sentence.
We'll allow it. It's okay.
Exciting. Every day's different. The one thing Nas hates is the word inspiring.
Yeah, I hate it.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I'd say that every day is exciting and different and an adventure, particularly now. I'd say exciting.
Beautiful.
Well, thank you both for coming in.
Thank you for having
I'm not going to
us.
say it was an inspired chat.
No, not allowed.
I'm just going to say
I gave it
fantastic and thank you.
Yeah.
We learned a lot.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so
We
much.
had heard rumours, Nas, that you were fabulous, actually. Everyone had told us, and you lived up to the hype, let me tell you.
Oh,
So did you, Tom. It was
you
so
very
lovely
much.
meeting you. Thanks so much for your time.
Likewise. Lovely meeting you. Thanks a lot.
What a great chat. Did you enjoy that?
I love that. I secretly was hoping that the baby was coming in, I have to say.
Really? Did you think?
I really thought, I was like, the baby's only 8 months. Surely the baby will come with. But no, they're home with the grandparents, which is okay. I'll allow it. It's all
It's a
right.
community. It takes a community.
I know, but just so lovely. And again, the feeling in the room with them was just the amount of love and respect that they have for each other was just really, really beautiful.
Yeah, we can. Well, I know I can learn from that as well. Just the support that Tom gives Nas, and vice versa.
Absolutely.
Because he's got his busy career, doing his radio and getting up early.
Yeah.
Juxtaposed to what I do, which is stay up late, as you know, every night.
That's right, honey. Poker face, poker face. No, didn't they both have the most beautiful voices? Like, I just could listen to them talk all day.
kidding
So
me?
eloquent, just like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, really beautiful.
That's the good old ABC. They know how to pick them.
They do. Really,
know how to pick 'em.
really, really
Thank you for
clever.
being with us today on Separate Bathrooms.
Yeah.
We will look forward to convening on the next episode.
So true.
Good on you,
Thanks.
honey.
Thanks for listening.